All right, so as most of you guys have probably seen by now, Oklahoma is set to hire Nate Dreiling as their inside linebackers coach, maybe a co-defensive coordinator. We really don't know exactly what title is going to be, maybe outside of an inside linebackers coach. But we got to talk about what this means for Oklahoma and then who's calling the defense. And is Oklahoma going to have multiple linebackers coaches? Because that's kind of what some of the thoughts are now that you've seen this kind of wording and phrasing come out. So let's discuss it. I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Hop down in the comments below. Give me your guys' thoughts. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys wipe your feet, hit that like, hit the subscribe button. We actually do a lot of recruiting news all year long. We'll be covering some basketball tomorrow after the basketball game against Vanderbilt. You ain't going to want to miss any of it, so make sure you're tuning in here. But Nate Dreiling is expected to be the next inside linebackers coach at Oklahoma. Maybe the co-defensive coordinator. I've seen the inside linebackers coach thrown around a lot. Have not really seen a lot of people naming him co-DC. So this is going to be interesting here, right? Because there's a couple coaches on staff that have that co-DC tag. And you would imagine if Nate Dreiling comes in, another guy getting added to it. Maybe it's because it gives him a little bit of a salary bump there. But the real question I think everybody has is, one, who is this guy? And then two, who's calling the defense? Well, Nate Dreiling spent some time as a linebacker at Pittsburgh State, was an All-American there, went to the Green Bay Packers, the Chiefs, and then I believe up to Canada in their football league with the Omaha Mammoths. Didn't really play professionally, it looks like, from his Wikipedia page, but was set to be the defensive coordinator at Arkansas State. So if you're Oklahoma, you went and snuck somebody's defensive coordinator out from underneath them. And quite frankly, in my opinion, this isn't a lateral move because it's not defensive coordinator. So his coaching career kind of quickly getting to where he's at right now. He was GA at Kansas from 2015 to 2016. 2017, he was the safeties coach at Pittsburgh State. From 2018 to 2019, he was the defensive coordinator at Pittsburgh State. At 2020, he was a defensive analyst at Oregon. In 21, he was at Southeast Missouri State as the middle linebackers coach. He in 2022 to 2023 at New Mexico State, he became the defensive coordinator. In 2024, he has been an interim head coach / defensive coordinator at Utah State. And then, of course, you guys know the drill. He got the defensive coordinator job at Arkansas State. So he's kind of been around the coaching carousel a lot. This is a guy that's quickly, obviously, rising up through the ranks, coming to Oklahoma to be an inside linebackers coach. But again, who's calling the defense? Well, at this point, it makes sense since Oklahoma did not get Jim Knowles, a guy that you think Brent Venables could completely hand the defense off to and not have to worry about it. Brent Venables would probably be calling the defense this year. He's going to want his defense called because he knows it works, and we saw it last year. I mean, in that Alabama game, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, that Brent Venables pretty well much called that game. And if so, I think you can tell the difference between what Zach Alley was doing and still what Brent Venables is doing. Although Zach Alley still had a lot of the same concepts as Brent Venables, maybe Zach Alley wanted to add his own little spin on things. But Brent Venables wants his defense because he knows it works, and he knows in the fourth year, historically, his defenses, that's when they really start to just become one of the best defenses in the entire country. And he's fast tracking to that already. So you would expect Brent Venables is going to be calling the defense. But that leads the question, if we're hiring Dreiling as an inside linebackers coach, well, does that mean we're going to have an outside linebackers coach? Because if so, does that mean Brandon Hall's going to be coaching safeties and linebackers like the Cheetah? Or is Skalski, because I know everybody saw James Skalski throw out an offer to a kid the other day. Does he take a role as a linebackers coach? Does Wes Goodwin come in as a linebackers coach? Because we all know what kind of recruiting he can do on the trail. And I think for a lot of people, I think the information that you've seen put out there is Wes Goodwin would probably be hired as a defensive analyst. I think George Stoya put that out just a little bit ago, so you can go check that out on his Twitter. But understanding if there's going to be another linebackers coach coaching the outside linebackers is going to be intriguing, because I don't think you see this concept a ton where you have multiple linebackers coaches. I feel like normally you just see one linebackers coach and then some analysts that kind of help in that space. So kind of seeing what is next for Oklahoma, I think is going to be really intriguing. Now, obviously, we're still waiting an official announcement from Oklahoma on whether Nate Dreiling has actually been hired. And at that point, we're going to understand a little bit more about his role, because if he is an inside linebackers coach and a co-defensive coordinator, it will say that on the announcement. But kind of looking at what Nate Dreiling could bring to Oklahoma, maybe this is something where Brent Venables wants him in his scheme for a year, and then maybe next year he feels comfortable enough to start integrating Nate Dreiling in as the defensive coordinator play caller to start calling some plays, right? And maybe he's got to keep the leash on Nate a little bit, have some override there on some of the calls, but kind of allowing him to start transitioning into that role a little bit. That's maybe how I kind of see it, right? This is obviously a critical year for Brent Venables and the staff, as everybody kind of has Brent Venables on the hot seat here. And it's rightfully so, because Brent Venables has not had the best year at the best couple of years at Oklahoma. It's not lived up to the standard or the expectation. But the expectation at Oklahoma is that you're going to have a good defense. You're going to have a good offense, and you're going to compete for championships. So Brent Venables has to get this thing back on track. He knows it. And so, bringing in someone like Nate Dreiling to kind of help bolster the staff a little bit, kind of, coach up your linebackers a little bit, I think that helps a lot. So, I saw Brian Clinton put this out earlier, but in 2022, Nate Dreiling inherited the number 128th scoring defense at New Mexico State at 40.4 points per game. When he left in 23, the Aggies ranked 5th nationally in red zone defense at 72.58% and 44th in scoring at 22.8 points per game. So obviously you can tell Nate Dreiling is able to do this. The question is, can he do this at a high level? And that's where him being here in the program for a year, potentially Brent Venables can kind of figure that out and figure out if this is a guy that he can actually hand the reins off to. And if not, I'm pretty sure Brent Venables has some other names in his back pocket that he could potentially go after if he wants to look for another defensive coordinator. And again, I think I still expect Wes Goodwin to be on the staff at some capacity, right? So if that means he's a defensive analyst or if he is coaching the linebackers, Wes Goodwin is a excellent addition there as well. So we'll have to keep our eyes up for that one. But I want to hear from y'all, so make sure you join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.